Hello and welcome into this week's edition of the ARCA Racing Series Rewind Show right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host, Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, consider going down below and hitting that subscribe button and ringing the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. On today's edition of the ARCA Rewind Show, we're looking back at a very exciting, controversial, all of the above, just probably about any adjective you could think of, probably describes the Primera Plastics 200 from Berlin Raceway last night. Wow. Lots going on in this race, especially at the end. Huge fireworks, so to speak, going on at the end of this race. I don't want to go too much into detail on exactly what happened at the end of the race. If you didn't see the live stream, so there wasn't national TV coverage of this race because it was rain delayed. MAV TV didn't do it, but there was a live stream on ARCARacing.com. Where Charlie Crawl called the race, and then they were using the cameras that the track had. So there was some sort of coverage of this race. So if you did happen to catch this race, very exciting. I'll give it that up until the end of the race, and depending on your viewpoint of it, even the finish was exciting. And I'm not going to get into my opinion on the finish of the race because that's not what this is for. I might do an opinion piece on the end of the race here in the next day or two to talk about that, but that's not the purpose of this show. My opinion is not the purpose of this show. But basically, in a nutshell, Christian Eckes dominated most of the latter half of the race, and then gets passed by his teammate Chandler Smith late, trying to get back to the lead. Eckes ends up cutting a tire after contact with Chase Purdy. That was the end of Christian Eckes' night in terms of win potential. And then at that point, it became Chandler Smith's race. After that point, the final 30 laps or so, it was Chandler Smith's race. Joe Graf Jr., who had been 2 laps down at one point, somehow finds his way in the third position on a restart with about 8 laps to go, something like that. Very late in the race. Gets his way into second on this restart. Tracks down Chandler Smith. Final lap, they take the white flag, and they go down into turn 3. Contact is made. Chandler Smith goes around in 3 and 4. The caution flies just before Joe Graf gets to the finish line to take his first victory, so we go to overtime. And the way ARCA rules work is if the white flag or if the caution flag comes out on the final lap, you get a 1-lap shootout for overtime. So they re-racked them, and it ends up being Joe Graf and Zane Smith on the front row for the overtime restart. Graf spins his tires a bit. Zane Smith comes out with the lead off of turn 2 in the, remember, 1-lap shootout. They go down into turn 3. Graf kind of dive bombs it into 3 again. He and Smith wash up the track. He and Zane come off of turn number 4 side by side. Graf has a nose out in front, washes up the track just a bit down the front stretch. He and Zane end up in the wall down the front stretch, and Graf crosses the line first, picks up his first career victory. Now, as we get into the results here, you will notice that there's no lap count on here for anyone except Joe Graf Jr. That is because we do not have official results yet for some reason. I don't know what the reason for this is. I have an idea of what that reason might be, but I don't know the reason for this. There are no results whatsoever published for this race yet from ARCA or from anyone. So this is just kind of going off what I could find because I didn't get the results at the track. I should have gotten a paper copy when I was at the track just to be sure so that this would work out. But I didn't think about that. I didn't realize that I wouldn't be able to find it when I went to do this show. So, as you'll see, no lap count on here, and I'm not even 100% sure that is the correct lap number since they went into overtime. I believe it was 206, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So, forgive me if this is wrong. By the time you watch this, there might be actual official results out. I'm not sure. But at the time of the recording of this, there's no official results out yet. So, like I said, I have an idea of what that might be, and this is just my assumption. But I don't know for sure why there isn't official results yet, so I'm not going to say anything. But, yeah, so we'll go ahead and get into these. Joe Graf Jr. unofficially is your winner Saturday night from Berlin Raceway. His first career ARCA Racing Series victory. Zane Smith comes home in the second position. Travis Braden with a strong third place finish. Carson Hocevar, the hometown favorite, had a fantastic run after starting on the pole. Came home in the fourth position, one of the fastest cars all night. And Gus Dean rounded out the top 5. Rest of your top 10, Sheldon Creed, Chandler Smith, Chase Purdy, Riley Herbst, and Natalie Decker. 11th through 19th, final page here. Christian Eckes, he came home in the 11th position after his flat tire issue. Brett Holmes in the 52 car for Ken Schrader Racing, 12th on the night. All right, so that's your results for the Primera Plastics 200 on a very wild, crazy Saturday night in Marne, Michigan. Even after the race, there was crazy things happening. This was what you would expect out of a Saturday night short track race, I think. No matter what your opinion on what Joe Graf did at the end of the race, you expect sparks to fly, you expect fireworks to happen, you expect tempers to be heated, and tempers were definitely heated. Chandler Smith had to be restrained by his pit crew not to go after Joe Graf at the end of the race. And then there was a report, I didn't see this, but there was a report that when Joe Graf took the checkered flag from the flag stand, Billy Venturini, his car owner, grabbed the flag out of Graf's hand and threw it down onto the track. So, like I said, I didn't see this, but there's a report that this happened. So lots of anger after this race. Zane Smith wasn't happy either. Just all around crazy. That's the best word I can think of to describe this. A crazy finish from Berlin Saturday night. Very, very controversial. I don't know how else to describe it. So we'll just go ahead and get into the point standings after Berlin. Sheldon Creed drops his points lead just a bit after Zane finished in the second position. 220 now the points lead for Sheldon Creed. But if you saw our coverage on the weekend and you saw our chat with Zane Smith before the race, he has pretty much, at this point now with 4 races remaining after Berlin, he has pretty much given up on the hope of winning this championship. As 220 points in 4 races is a lot to make up, even with 4 wins. So really, to him, it's all about wins at this point. And he came close to getting that. It took a special set of circumstances for him to be in position to win this, because had the incident that caused overtime not happened, he wouldn't have really been in a position to win the race at that point. Riley Herbst now still kind of in his own little world here. Has a 75-point gap on Travis Braden there, holding down the third position as Riley Herbst. And then it's a 35-point gap for Travis Braden and Chase Purdy there in that fourth place battle. And then down here, 6th and 7th, your 6th place battle, Augustine, Natalie Decker, 40-point gap there as well. And then it's another 210 points back to this week's winner, Joe Graf Jr. All right, so that's your results that's the point standings following the Primera Plastics 200 at Berlin Raceway, and I believe that will do it for us tonight on the ARCA Racing Series Rewind show. Like I said, we had our usual coverage from Berlin this weekend, and going forward, we have plans to be at every ARCA race for the rest of the season. So DuQuoin September 3rd, Lucas Oil Raceway in Indy on September 7th, Salem Speedway September 15th, and Kansas on October 19th. So we do plan on being at every one of the remaining ARCA races with varying coverage. It'll be at least what we have done up to this point for every race. So it'll be at least interviews pre-race to get the heavy hitters' thoughts heading into the race, and then depending on the situation, we'll get a post-race interview with the winner as well. We weren't able to get one with Joe Graff after this week, and obviously because it wasn't in the show, we weren't able to get a phone interview with him either. So obviously this week we didn't get that, but most weeks we will have that. And we do have some really big things that I'm actually really excited about in the works going forward, mostly ARCA related. So you'll want to keep an eye out for that. We're not at the point yet where I think I can safely announce what those are, but we definitely have some things in the works that at least one of them I believe should be rolling out here in about a month or so. So keep an eye out for that, and keep an eye out for all of our race coverage going forward. Like I said, we're going to be at every ARCA race going forward. So if you're a fan of the ARCA Racing Series, we've got you covered. So if you haven't done it already, you need to go down below and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss any of that going forward. And hit that big thumbs up button on this video if you liked it. It is much appreciated when you do. So with that, this has been the ARCA Racing Series Rewind Show. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.